Out. Don't worry about fucking drinking. Drink as much as you want, it's all good.
I never worry about drinking.
Everything should be kosher from when we was looking at it earlier anyway, so I'll adjust myself as and when I need to. But
Are you rolling, yeah?
Yeah, I'm rolling. I'm just waiting for it. It always takes a minute or two for everybody to log on, so...
I want to put Castlevania on for a second, more people and logging on.
Go on then, you're in the wrong category for that.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Go to the double dots. That's it, go to 48 1 to 8k games.
Oh, I thought...
How's it going, Slater? You alright, geezer? You're nearly there. Oh, there you go, nearly there.
Oh,
Yeah. And go into 1 to 8k mode. Number 1. That's it. There you go. So, just waiting for a few people to log on, guys. I know you're all there. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
And we're just going to give it a minute. He's just going to have a quick game of Castlevania whilst a couple of people log on. I don't really want to start talking till everyone logs on. You know who it is, because everyone wants to get a feel for what's going on and have a proper look at everything. So, I don't know, but are you missing anything? But you've been playing this today, ain't you? And you're enjoying it.
It's brilliant.
Enjoying it much.
It's really good. I'm enjoying it much.
How's it going, Woody? Woody's on as well. Say hello to Woody.
Fuck off.
Cracking game, innit?
Yeah. Oh.
Doing
I got away with that.
I know, yeah, you got lucky there. So, right, there's a few people logging on now, so I'm going to have a chat and tell you what we're looking at and what we're doing. So today I've changed up the setting a little bit, as you can tell. I'm not just riding solo today. We've got Aaron with us today, and we're going to be taking a look at the Spectrum Next. Now it's fully here. Now, I did a bit of a video the other day, just kind of previewing things, put a few screenshots up. We've moved into the living room because pretty soon my Next, which has finally arrived, is going to be permanently living in here as opposed to being on in the kitchen like I always usually do it. So you have to apologise for the fact that I'm kind of going guerrilla style with this. At the end of the day, I've now got my living room TV. I haven't got a tripod or anything, and I can't find any nice way to kind of put my phone up on stand. So yeah, he's been hosed down. Don't worry about that. He's had a scrub with bleach on his way through the door.
Is that
so
Mike?
no, it's Andy Johnson, as it happens. So yeah, hope you're doing all right. I'm now finally out of hospital. I'm now doing a little bit better, but this corona thing's kind of getting everyone down. It's getting me down a bit. I need to be isolating. Well, some of us are a bit tougher than others, but I can't risk an infection, so I'm just staying indoors. But anyway, I thought I'd break up a bit of that monotony and break up a bit of the bad feeling that's going about. And I thought I would just do a video on what's going on with the Spectrum Next. Now it's starting to arrive with people. I think about over half of the people who back to Next have now got theirs.
I haven't got mine, Jim.
But most of you out there now will have got, or at least half of you will have got yours now. And from what I understand, the accelerateds are going to drop on everyone's mat in the next couple of days. So, all right, a couple of weeks. Okay, I won't get anyone up knocking my door down for that. Next couple of weeks, anyway. So, mine arrived whilst I was in hospital. I teased a few pictures of it out. So, ignoring the beer. Can't see it perfectly well in this light, but this is my Next.
You want to shift your fucking head as well.
And you can see it's the fully accelerated version. It's got the Raspberry Pi in the back, and it's the Yours Truly. You can't really see on here, but yeah, I have. In fact, if I flip the light on quickly, there we go. That's better. You can see there, mine's the Yours Truly, and it's got my name laser etched onto the underside of the logo there.
Did you see what Chang had on his?
Was it Chung Kong or was it Kwang?
No, it was Kwang. It was.
No, it was Alan Chang, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was Alan Chang, yeah.
Yeah, he got was it print boobies or something?
Yeah, go to 10 print boobies or something.
quite funny to see, but I think he regrets that. He's playing all right. Woody, this game is solid. It's harder than the NES versions, I can tell you that for nothing.
And it's got a hard mode as well.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. So I'm really happy now I've got mine next. I have relegated my my development next. You can see now that now lives at the side. I've actually taken the 16GB card that I was running inside there, and I've transferred that to my next. Thankfully though, because of the way they've done the micro SD adapter and had that printed instead, I've just taken out the 1GB card, put the 16GB in, so I've still got the Spectrum Next branded SD card holder inside my proper production Spectrum Next. So it's the fully accelerated version, so it's got all the bells and whistles. The only thing I haven't done yet is, because I've misplaced where I've put it, I need to upgrade the RAM. I need to put the full 2MB of RAM in there. I've got the full 2MB of RAM in there. I'm going to keep that as it is, and I'll be moving over. Once I find where I've put my chips, I'll put the RAM chips into this and make it fully back up to 2MB of RAM again. So, how's the audio, by the way, guys? It's right, I'm kind of testing this while he's playing this game to see if you can hear the audio and you can hear us. I don't want to shout too much, but as he's just giving this a bit of a whirl while we're getting everybody logged on. So we've got about 15 people on now, so it's a good start. We usually get about 20 or 30 watching, so that's fine by me. So I'll just kill my... There we go, I'll kill the light. We don't need the light for the duration. So the reason I'm kind of coming on to do this stream today, you'll hear the game better when I get a bit closer, Woody, don't worry about that. I just wanted to check you could still hear us okay. And he's just committed suicide. So let's leave it on the title screen for a sec, mate. Unless it restarts itself, which it does. Yeah, hit reset. So the reason I wanted to come on, guys, is because now the necks are all here, and I'm really happy I've got mine and everything. There's a lot due to come out. I know that the final orders for Rusty Pixel's first couple of games have completed now. I think the closing orders for those was either yesterday or Sunday night. So I hope you got your orders in if you want physical copies of those, because the pre-orders for those have now closed. I think digital copies will come out in due course, but I'd strongly suggest you support the developers. You obviously continue to build your next collection. I've already got the games from Software Amusements in my collection, and even though I work with these guys on a lot of things, I've still bought my full physical copies from Rusty Pixels of Baggers in Space, Warhawk and Tiverian. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this now, but rather than my opinion for once, because a lot of people might be accusing me of kind of fluffing these up a bit because I get early access. That's not the case at all. I'll give you my honest opinions, and I just want everyone to see what I see as an end user. I've brought Aaron along with me this time. So Aaron has, because he helps me so much with the events.
So much.
Yes, and obviously a lot of you went to Revival will know that he filled in for me whilst I was completely absent, unfortunately. I will put the light back on, actually, because it's very dark in here. So apologise if you're getting a little bit blinded. But yeah, I got to look directly at the camera. But yeah, Aaron hasn't had much chance to play on a lot of these games for the Spectrum Next.
I will say, if any of the developers want to send me free physical copies, I will completely fluff it and just give a great review. No problem at all.
Noted. I think there's a few people saying noted. So, so Aaron is going to be taking a detailed look at these games with me. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering some of the games that I've already covered before. Because we've got the kind of latest builds here. But I've also been sent quite a few new games that some people might have seen a teaser picture of. Some you might not have seen anything of at all. So we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to start with some of the token games just to show you where the progress is at. And I think a good place to start, if you go up a folder, and go into next games. Right, we're going to start with, I think we'll start with, where do you want to start, mate?
I bother, mate.
There's loads. Well, tell you what, let's start with Tiverian, because Tiverian was a game you were playing a little bit earlier on, and you've gotten to grips with it, and we're gonna learn we're gonna learn what you now think about it. So, Tiverian is the first budget full paid game from Rusty Pixels, and
My favourite so far as well.
your favourite so far, definitely. You think?
Yeah.
So, and well, we'll start up a game, and you can tell us what you think is so special about it. So, this game, I believe, I think it was 12 or 13.50, I think, from Rusty Pixels. And for anybody who hasn't seen this before, it's based on an arcade game called Solar Fox, a slightly lesser known arcade game.
I had that on the Atari 2600, and this is better.
You had a story behind that, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I sent my dad when I was a little kid to go and get a game called Quest, and he come back, he said, I ain't got Quest, I got you this. And it was Solar Fox, and it looked shit, and I cried in the pub.
But then it turns out
yeah, it's good.
you quite enjoyed it, and obviously Tiverian is based on that, and that's what we're playing right here.
The only criticisms I've got of it, I mean, because there's loads of positives, so I'll just get the criticism out of the way. One is just personal, I think. The pulsating red light, that was starting to make my eyes go funny after about 15 minutes playing it.
Do you mean on the backgrounds?
The background combined with the borders.
Yes.
The way it pulsates, it's almost like it's drawing you in and pushing you out, drawing you in, pushing you out. And after about 15 minutes, it was making my eyes go a bit funny.
To be fair though, isn't that something that could probably be cured with your TV settings if you just dial down the brightness a bit, or the...
I think it's the movement as well. See that the way that white line moves within the red? I know it's only a white line moving left and right.
Oh,
but
yes.
It's almost like a depth in and out when you're staring at the screen, and when it's in the periphery, after a while, it just... You know that sort of effect you get when you play Guitar Hero too long?
Yeah.
It sort of gives me that kind of headache. It gives me a Guitar Hero headache.
Yeah, I'll get you.
The only other criticism is when the level starts, straight away, the ship starts moving. Now, on the later levels, when it's quite busy, especially if it's a level you've never played, you don't know where your ship is, and it just moves. So it'd be good if you could... It didn't move till you pressed a button, then you could find your ship and then start the level.
Okay.
Unless they did that on purpose to make it more difficult, I don't know.
Well, I suppose the whole point of it is that your ship is constantly in motion, because obviously there's no way to pause your ship.
Yeah.
But you can speed it up and you can shoot, obviously.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always come into play, but it does with some of the enemies that you encounter.
I'll tell you what this game reminds me of. Pac-Man Champion Edition and Champion Edition Plus. Because, old Pac-Man... This is a prime example, this level. Look at this level. See, it just looks like there's random dots everywhere. But there's a path. Then dots, if you look, are showing you a route. And that's what Pac-Man Champion Edition did. Rather than like the old Pac-Mans where every single spot of the maze was taken with dots, in Champion Edition, there'd be large blank areas. But if you paid attention, you could see that it was showing you a route, and that's what this does.
See. So, yeah, I do apologise for any lens flaring going on, guys. It's not because my lens is dirty, I've just checked that. What it is because you've got a very high contrast screen. We've got, obviously it's a HDMI signal I've got coming out of the next here. And I've only got kind of subtle lighting in my living room at the moment, so with very bright whites against a black background, we're starting to get a little bit of flaring that you don't see on the game, obviously.
No, it looks great.
I mean, obviously you can see the detail of the graphics and everything clear enough. If I get in a bit closer, you'll see that flaring is still there. It's just the high contrast and the way that my camera's adjusting to it. But I mean, if I get in close, you can see the pixels are pretty close. But the level of detail, is brilliant, and I like the fact you can change your ship, can't you? Because you know what you're saying about the colour flaring. We did find, didn't we, that by changing your ship, which Aaron's going to demonstrate now, mate, right hand side. You can actually change your ship, and that can help with some of the stages, because I found that with the default ship, I couldn't see a lot.
Yeah. But
when I switched to something like that, where your ship is white, you could see a lot better against some of the backdrops. So it's not just a matter of looking cool, it does help a lot with the contrast against the background. See, I find that a lot easier shit to trace across the screen.
Yeah, this is one of them games as well where, because it's got a timer and there's a time bonus, you'll be able to really get some good competitive play going on. The difference between two competitive players will be like 10 points in like first place and second place.
Yeah.
It'll really come down to split second timing and finding the best route. And just because like this one, there's no maze at all. It's just an open square. But there is routes specifically there because of the way the dots are aligned, the way the enemies are moving. So people will be finding quicker routes on this all the time.
There is definitely a strategy. The other thing is as well, with the you've got the 2-button control set up, haven't you, for this?
Yeah.
So you've got, is it B to speed up and C to fire, or the
other way around?
Yeah. So B to fire and C to speed up. That adds a lot of tactics because you could probably find one path by using the speed at the right moments.
Yeah.
And that's obviously how you beat the timeout, which you can see kind of rolling along at the bottom of the screen there. The more you use your boost, the faster that timer depletes, I understand.
This is another example of the route being laid out without having walls. And there'll be a lot, I reckon the more people, when people get to play this, you'll get like, 10 seconds is definitely the fastest on this level. And then about a month down the line, somebody will do it in like 9.5.
Woody said he thinks a lot of people might want to speedrun this game. So Mike Ware's just jumped on and says that the idea is that when you first start, there's an explosion behind your ship, and that's what fires you into being in constant motion. So the being constantly moving is where the challenge comes from. So I suppose with some of the stages, you can have a bit of a trial and error. Like this one, it does say you got to move like Billy O. Now, once you know how to do it, like you've just done there, you've gone through it first time. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. We've struggled to get past the second group of stages, haven't we? I don't think I've beaten this stage, in fact, because you've got a lot of enemies to contend with.
Oh, fucked it.
Oh, see what I mean? It's incredibly difficult. This is as far as I've got, so if you can beat this, you're doing better than me.
Oh, well, not now, mate.
It's really hard once you get in that corner, innit?
Yeah.
So, but that's Ty Varian anyway, guys. Like I say, it's the cheaper of the 3 Rusty Pixels games.
And I think it's the best.
And you think it's the best. It is your favourite, isn't it?
Definitely.
So, but everyone seems to like it anyway. Woody says an idea for revival competition. Yeah, definitely at some point. Yeah, Mike says every single level is designed so there is actually a straight path using the boost and normal speed once you've found it. So right, so let's jump up to Warhawk now. I think is a good one to have a look at because that's obviously another one that's been released.
That one.
That's the one. Yeah. Now, just to reiterate, guys, again, the versions I've got here, they are almost complete, but they're not complete versions. So there may still be the odd change on here. And Aaron's going to start from level 1. He doesn't want to spoil too much for you. We have gone quite a bit ahead on this, but yeah, it's not an easy game. Not an easy game at all. So, what do you want to tell us your thoughts on this then, Az?
Well, again, I mean, it looks straightforward. Ship go up, ship shoot things, but there's more strategy to it. You can get, obviously, it's a score chaser, which is what you want from an old school game. But if you destroy, you'll see like I'll start to destroy things on the floor. Like, see this here. You destroy that. If you destroy everyone on the level, you get like a base destroy bonus. But if you miss just one, you completely lose the bonus. You've got the weapon you start with. You will get power-ups later on. But another bit of strategy, rather than it just float around till you get it, you need to lay off firing because you can destroy your own power-ups. So again, another bit of strategy. These asteroids, you can't destroy them, but you can slow them down. It's quite a bit, on the surface it might seem like a straightforward old school shooter, but there's a fair bit of depth to it, and it controls nice.
There's definitely a lot going on. I mean, I didn't have much experience with the original games when I started looking back to it, and when I looked at the original 8-bit Commodore version and the other ports, the game was very basic originally. I mean, very basic. There's only one type of kind of firepower you've got. The HUD was just simple numbers at the bottom of the screen. There were no real power-ups, and there weren't any proper boss fights. Now, the boss fights on this I mean, the graphics are pretty epic, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
if you get to the end of this stage, you'll see obviously the first major boss. The one you just defeated was a sub-boss. You didn't even have that on the original game. You just had like an enemy rush kind of stage, which lasted a few seconds, and it weren't much cop. This, you've got proper fast enemy patterns, and the enemy patterns do get quite brutal, don't they, later on?
Yeah, and they start coming from behind you as well.
And obviously on a vertical shooter, once you start getting things creeping from behind, it kind of discourages that stay at the bottom of the screen tactic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. You do get power-ups on this. I think the first power-up appears in this level, doesn't it?
It's either this one or the next.
It's either this or the next, yeah, I'm pretty sure. It might float down while the star field's on. I'm not entirely sure when or where they spawn. But this is the first proper boss, guys. I mean, you can see there, that's some like serious size sprite you're dealing with there.
And I'm only making it look a bit easy because I was playing it like 10 minutes ago and I clocked it. First time I played it, he kicked the shit out of me.
And it is worth mentioning as well, he is using an auto-fire joypad as well, so that obviously makes things a little bit simpler. But as we've discovered, they've tweaked the controls a little bit, haven't they? So when you do get your power-up fire, which you may collect in a minute,
yeah.
Actually releasing the auto-fire actually gives you a faster fire. There it is. So if you hold that down now, it moves at a much faster pace than the auto fire on the basic firepower, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't, and you can lose it as well if you get it. Is it if you get it just once, or if you lose?
I think if you lose a couple of triangles, I think that's when it actually goes. But that's what you've actually done there, and you lost a few. But I mean, what's quite cool, I mean, the original game was just very basic backgrounds. It looked a lot like the backgrounds of Iridium or what's the other game I'm thinking of? I can't remember the name of it now, but this has got like varied stages. Every stage has got a different background, you know. All
the bosses are unique as well.
Yeah.
There's one bastard coming up soon, and they start kicking out the laser beams, and it seems like you've got a lot of life over on the right. As soon as you start getting by them laser beams, it don't. It don't last long.
You definitely need reflexes. The enemy AI is pretty straightforward, but it's also difficult to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a field of meteors blasting down on you like that. It's a very satisfying game to play, I thought. I mean, when you take out the enemies, you're like, yeah, get out, you bastard, you know. And I think people are really going to get a kick out of that. People, at events, I've probably seen this game played more so than the next one we're going to show. Purely because it's such an arcade blaster, you know. Yeah. This is the kind of game you can turn on any time and give a good blast in it.
Definitely. Can I finish my game now?
Yeah, I'm gonna
turn it off.
No, I'm gonna let you finish your game. I ain't gonna. I usually just touch on these, but because now I can actually talk to the camera, it's hard to talk and play at the same time. Anybody knows that.
It is.
Especially when you're trying to film as well and manage the camera. So, at least with this video, I'm kind of telling you what I think, what Aaron's giving you in real time, if you know what I mean.
See, look at them. Them patterns are ridiculous. I mean, I'm not a complaint. I mean, they're good. I mean, it's just ridiculously difficult if you let too many of them on screen at the same time.
I mean, you're actually making it look easy at the moment. I think the demo version of Warhawk that everyone's got in the distribution only contains, I think, is it 4 stages it's got on the demo version. I don't think we're going to show much more than 4 stages because we don't want to give too much away to people who've bought it. But if you haven't already bought it, I really recommend you do at some point get this game, because this game it's brilliant. It's definitely a must-have for the system. And see if Aaron can take out this. You can see it's getting a lot more difficult now. That energy's depleting. You got to hit him in the weak spot. Like, yes, a couple of people mentioned Star Force. It borrows a little from Star Force in the base destruction. So that's stage 4. We'll show you a little bit of stage 5, since not many of you will have seen it yet, I suppose.
Okay.
And we have got that to the advantage here. Yeah, Alan who did the music said, yeah, there's a little bit of inspiration in the music from Star Force as well. So you can see this level's got a kind of
satanic
wasteland vibe, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. And those command ships, those are really cool to look at. You are making it look easy, but it definitely isn't. At this point, everything starts to get a lot faster. There's a lot more bullets to
I'm
avoid.
making it look easy because I'm fucking good, that's why.
I knew one of those questions had come up. The next Kickstarter is right around the corner, Andy. Jim put a post up yesterday saying he finished recording his bits to camera for the next Kickstarter promotional video. So the Kickstarter won't be far off. I imagine this Corona thing is going to hold things up a little bit. But if anything, this is something to really look forward to if you're going to be nailed to your house for a few months. So, yeah.
This is the boss that... Oh no, he's the next boss that killed me.
Yeah, the next level gets ridiculous. This is a sub-boss most people won't have seen yet. And I'll tell you what, we will go on to see the next stage.
Yes, the next boss is impressive.
And the next boss is very impressive. You got to remember, you only get one life on this game. You get the full kind of 4-bar energy gauge there, but it's only one life you have to deal with. Sinistar, yeah. Don says it looks a lot like the Sinistar bosses, yeah. Beware, coward. But yeah, I really love the aesthetic on this. And I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up for a minute just so you can hear the background music. Got it. Oh, you speed up when you get that as well.
See, my brain really don't work with fast ships on shooters. I find this really difficult. That's not a criticism of the game. That's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
Whenever I play things like R-Type or Gradius, I always have one speed lower than the full speed.
Yeah.
And this is swift.
Well, you can see how difficult this is getting now with the combined meteor storms with the enemy patterns as well. It does get really crazy. And here we go. This boss looks excellent. And this is the first one that really tests you, doesn't it?
Yeah, this one's nasty.
I mean, if you touch that laser in a minute...
I just lost my weapon straight away.
Watch how much energy you lose if he touches that laser. You see, it goes down very quick. This boss is the first one that really tests you. You've got to duck in and out pretty quick, ain't you? And he takes a lot more damage than the other ones as well. Yeah, you got him now. A lot tougher than the other ones, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we'll call it a day on that one there. But this is Warhawk, guys. I believe this was $16.99, I believe. So, obviously, one of the top premium titles, but worth every penny. We've got to move on, and we'll look at the third, which has been released, which, of course, is Baggers in Space. So, if you go down, mate, you need to go find the next file.
Hang on, where are we?
Keep going down. It's mostly in order. When you start playing them, it shifts them to the top. That's it, Baggers in Space 3. Yeah, this isn't the third game in the series, just the way I've been numbering them, because I've got so many copies of the game on my memory card at the moment. Mike says, "Look, wait till you see the levels from 10 plus on Warhawk." I've seen one or two of them. They're fucking ridiculous. So, and so Baggers in Space. I mean, I've showed this a million times. This is something you'll have seen a lot of. It is possibly the most awaited game for the system. I know.
Yeah, I reckon so.
And the reason being, I mean, I mentioned that Warhawk gets a lot more event play, but that's purely because you can pick up and play it in just a couple of minutes, and that's all you've got at a lot of conventions. Baggers in Space. Now, the reason this is probably the premium title at the moment, and the reason it doesn't see as much event play is probably because it is so much more in depth than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a fun game, isn't it? With levels and stages and different areas, different arenas. So there's backtracking and there's it is hard to play and talk.
It is. I mean, the thing is with the game, I mean, this is what I've tried to convey in my previous videos, is yes, it's obviously inspired by Jetpack. The other main game it's inspired by, of course, is Hero, which a lot of people will be familiar with. I had that on the Spectrum. I absolutely love that game.
I had that on the 2600.
Did you? It came out on the 2600 first by Activision.
Did it?
So yeah, it's inspired by both of those games, of course. But then, of course, you've got a lot more depth to it. I mean, you're supposed to collect all the artifacts, like the one over there. Those artifacts do different things on different stages. On level 1, it's just points. But on the other stages, it gives you like speed ups, allows you to walk faster, fly faster, things like that. So they are worth collecting. And of course, you've got to map out these stages. Now, I was never a master at mental mapping back in the day. I used to play games like there was a game called iRobot that used to be on the Spectrum, and it's like a big platform adventure game. It's like playing the original Metroid on the NES. You've got to map out exactly where you're going and work out what's going on. And this is very much the same, but what makes this so good to me is it grades up. I mean, like, this is stage 1. It's quite a small stage, and it's only about 10 screens. But then the later stages becomes a lot more. So, I mean, there's your third fuel canister there. So, I mean, that's level 1 done, you know. Not much to it. But that just kind of breaks...
It's only because I've done it a dozen times.
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah.
And you've at the end of the day, it's a way of breaking you into the game, innit? Mm-hmm. Is that background music using the normal AY sound on the next? I believe it is Graham. Alan's actually watching this stream, who did most of the music for this, so anything technical about that he can answer for you. What's quite cool is each of these stages have got the different theming. I'm just gonna quieten up a second here. You should be able to hear the kind of Egyptian themed music going on. But yeah, the music's pretty awesome. So the good thing is about the Next, obviously, it doesn't just emulate a single AY chip, it emulates 3 AY chips. So not only is it familiar AY sound, but you've got a lot more channels to use. So I suppose in the right hands of people like Space Fractal is you've got a lot more to use, you know, there's a lot more tools to use to create new effects, you know. The way I've described it, it sounds very Spectrum-ish, but you can create... with extra channels and that, there's a lot more reverberation kind of effects you can do, so that the sound starts to sound a lot more like SID type music. But see, you're finding this a lot more of a challenge already, ain't you? And you only found your first fuel canister.
I'd like to talk, but you know, talking and playing out. As soon as I started, it all went to fucking shit.
A lot of people have asked how it works on this. You've actually got an energy bar and an air bar, and your air works a bit like a timer. Now you can collect extra health, and you can also collect air canisters as well. And the way they've been positioned, I can tell you after a few playthroughs of this, they're positioned in such a way that you've got to take the right route to pick up the canister, so you don't run out of air at just the wrong moment. Is that your second fuel canister, is it?
Yeah.
There you go. Alan says he uses 2 AYs for the sound effects and 1 for the music on this game. Yeah, don't drop your dynamite on the fuel cell. I'll an explosion. You're very low on health as it happens. So see I think there is a health pickup on this stage.
I've lost.
You haven't been very far left yet. You've been a lot right, but you haven't been very far left. So I'd say head left if you can. Yeah, you've been all this way, mate. Think you're gonna die?
I think I am gonna die.
Oh, have you been right there? Yeah, head left anyway. You ain't been left yet. You can go either way, left. Yeah, I think there's a health pickup somewhere.
Whee!
There you go, just what you needed. Now go up and left, and that should take you to somewhere you ain't been yet. There you go. Keep going left. Oh, the stage repeats. It cycles. So try going down and left then. Go down. Oh no, you can't go fully down. go up, left, down, left. So down from there. Now go left from there, see? So you can see it's not just straightforward screens either, depending on which route you take. The stage can cycle. It's a lot cleverer than just straightforward mental mapping. If you can complete level 2, I'll be impressed, because it took me a few attempts to get level 2 out of the way.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Ooh.
I think that's your final fuel canister as well. It is. Well done.
I don't fuck about.
You certainly don't. Now I know there isn't a demo version of this game on the distribution, but Jim, you really can't fly that ship, mate. You need to learn your ship flying powers. And like I say, each stage has a different setting, a different theme for the enemies. You also get one-way paths and things starting from this level that makes pathing your way through those caves really difficult. Yeah, the backgrounds are superb, mate. I mean, when it comes to designing backgrounds, you want a lot of detail, but you don't want them distracting. And I think this does a pretty good job of being highly detailed, but not too distracting. Yeah, you got to hover. You got to practice your hovering skills. I'll be honest, this is a game I find a little bit easier playing with the joystick, because with the joystick you get a much better feel for the hovering, if you know what I mean. You're managing right with the joypad, though, ain't you?
I grew up with joypads. You're a little bit older than me. I never had the micros when I was a kid. I was like Master System, really, straight away. I had a 2600 and I was really little. Then it was Master System, Mega Drive, so I'm comfortable with a pad. Even with fighting games, pads, no sticks.
A lot of people ask what setup I'm running here. I have my Next just as I did with my development Next. I run it through HDMI and I run it at 60 Hz. It does create a little bit of an overscan on quite a few TVs that I've tried, but it does create the best results, I find. I don't like to have scan lines turned on. It can look nice for the arcades. You can't go up that way now because of the fans. You've got to take the long way around. Or you can go across the top if you're quick. There you go. So there's a lot more strategy involved with the paths. So if you can do level 3, I'll be really impressed.
I don't live my life just to fucking impress you, you know.
Well, you should do. So there's a lot of people watching now. We've had about 30 or so viewers at any one time. But yeah, I mean, this game looks really impressive. I mean, this is the one most people have been waiting on. It's certainly the one that will... It's probably the first killer game for the system, I would say. Like I say, in terms of gameplay, it's... You know, I like Warhawk just as much, and you like Tiverian, but this one has just got... You know, this is the kind of game you're going to need to sit down with for many hours, ain't you? To fully map it all out and learn where everything is. And I know that later on, from playing the demo versions I've been sent, you get some crazy surprises later on. It's not just a straightforward platform and adventure game. Health's really low now. You can do it! See, some enemies respawn, some don't. Air, you need air. That's a one-way door.
Oh, okay. Oh! I had no idea that out, yeah.
Oh!
Dead! I killed you, Jim. That'll learn you. Where's my fucking next?
Well, you had the scoreboard anyway.
Hang on. I'm nobody.
Oh, you're nobody.
Another game?
So that's Baggers in Space. So yeah, let's flip on and try something new. So, now one of the things I'd touched on before, I think it's time we looked at some new games now. I know I'm featuring mostly Rusty Pixels games, but you got to realise that they represent a big chunk of the games that are coming out at the moment. Actually, there's a couple more I wanted to show before we do show the brand new ones, and that's because you haven't had a chance to check them out yourself yet. Will you look for the Hollow Earth Hypothesis? It's should be on the next screen. There we go.
Where am I looking? Oh, yeah.
One above, right. Now this is the first commercial game being released by Lampros Patamianos. That's another mouthful just in his name. You might want to hit 2 first. Now I did cover this very early on, but what I didn't do, I've not covered it properly since Simon Butler was brought on to give the graphics a little bit of an overhaul. We've now got some more detailed sprites going on for the enemies. For the main character himself now is a little dude with a funky little backpack on.
Oh yeah, I played this when it was in like an alpha. There was no ink detection or anything.
That's right. Yeah, that was the first version he sent me. Now this is the complete version, as far as I understand, and you can see that the graphics. If you go back and look at some of the old screenshots and old videos, things have changed up quite a lot since then. We've got some extra little effects going on the queens. You can see at the top there. We've got tidier clouds in the backgrounds. We've got like multi-layered grass and fields and stuff going on. We've got a little bit of foreground graphics at the bottom there. That wasn't there on the original game that I showed. The keys are now animated that you collect. The character's got a lot more animation to him. It's incredibly difficult, I'll warn you now.
Okay, I'll get it.
You get it now, yeah, there you go. The idea is to collect as many coins as you can. You will need to collect certain keys and certain items to get through the cavern. Now you can get to the cavern over the side there.
So I'm turning auto fire. Oh, I thought I was turning it off.
No, if you hold the button down, he will just continue to jump, so you just got to tap. But as far as platformers go, this is a whole different kettle of fish to what we've seen on the Rusty Pixels games, because obviously you've got much smaller sprites, so there's a lot more platforming potential on each stage. In terms of screen proportions, this is much like Monkey McGee, which we haven't covered yet because I'm waiting for a full demo version to do that, but we will cover that at some point in the future. Again, it's another game that Simon Butler's working on. Whoa, yeah, there's a lot going on each screen. Whoa, he nearly got caught in the trap. Oh! There's trigger points for them for those fireballs.
Did you see the fucking skill then, though? Did you see that? Oh, did you see that?
The skill. This is an incredibly hard game. Let's let my camera readjust. This is an incredibly hard game, I'll tell you now. Playing Baggers in Space, I mean, that ramps up in difficulty. This does throw you in at the deep end, but it's a massive game. It's 80 screens long, I think Lampros told me.
You've got the sparkling ruby, press any key. Which one's the any key?
But yeah, I think, there's some coins to collect over to the left, I think, now. But yeah, you'd have to head into the mines shortly. Sorry for the lens flare, guys.
See the skill there?
I did. But this is definitely looking a lot prettier than the first couple of demos that we played of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tricky. Yeah, unlike Mario, collecting coins is kind of essential in this game. It was one thing I only found out later on. You don't need to collect all of them, but you do need to collect so many in order to progress in the game. And I don't know how many that is, but I know that once you get into the mines, you have to collect scuba gear to be able to go into the water. You have to collect the certain keys to trigger certain doors and hit certain portals. I mean, you can see there, that is a mammoth task. If you hit that switch over to the left underneath that thing, it should turn the fireballs off.
Bollocks!
Ooh!
Yeah, I like it.
So, pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, I don't know what killed me there.
But yes, it is a hell of a challenge. This game, by the way, guys, is also out. This is available only as a digital download. But I think this is only costs, I think, about £7 with the exchange rate. So, a lot cheaper than the other games, and obviously very good, you know. So,
yeah.
So, what do you think of it? You think something you could get into?
I'll definitely buy it, yeah. Well, you know, I'll buy it, or if they want a really good review, I'll get it for nothing.
Lampros is on, by the way. He's just said your skills look pretty good on this game, so he's impressed. Oh, sorry for the lens flare, guys. I'm doing my best to work with the camera. It just keeps auto-adjusting rather funkily. There we go. But yeah, I mean, this reminds me of many a Spectrum platformer, many an Amiga platformer, to be honest. You didn't see the rat, did you?
I did. I was trying to avoid him, but I'm guessing... Can you open them gates at any point?
Yes, you can. Some of them are only one-way gates. But there, you need to go into the mines to avoid the rat. There you go.
Oh, you avoid the rat, get it by the bat.
So anyway, yeah, that's the Hollow Earth hypothesis. It's always such a tongue twister to say, that is. You want to give Crowley World Tour a blast and just cover that for people?
Yeah, can do. I'm boiling here.
No, that's fine, mate. It's warm.
What are we going for?
Crowley World Tour. You need to go and find the next version. There you go. Up one. There you go. This is obviously another release from Rusty Pixels. This one actually being free, I understand. They've been showing it with a pseudo box made up at the events, but yeah. And this is one game that's actually got my name in the credits, which I'm quite happy about. There's a bit of a nod to me in there on the next page. And it is very nice to see your name included in some of these games. So. But yeah, I only actually got to play this properly myself for the first time when we did Revival 2019. I only got to have a quick go, and then I only got a full proper go at this point. Go to World Tour mode for play mode. There you go. And then hit start game. So, for anybody who's not seen this yet,
this game.
I think you do. This obviously is a Tetris port, or Tetris clone, should I say? It's not even a clone. At the end of the day, the concept of Tetrominos is it's a very old board game from the East. So that's basically what it was based on anyway. So as far as copying the concept of Tetris goes, they can't really say anything about that.
It's like doing a chess game and saying you've copied chess.
You've copied chess, yeah. It doesn't work like that. So, but this is from what I've done of it and played of it. I think it's a really good version of Tetris. I mean, as far as the control goes, you can't fault it. And when it comes to a puzzle game,
Tetris,
clear graphics and good control are where it's all about in it.
Controls perfectly. So you play Tetris, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you get. So you can't really argue.
So which version of Tetris would you liken this to the most?
To be honest, mate, I've only really played the NES and the Game Boy one.
Yeah, it's very close to the NES version, I found. Yeah. There is actually a remix of the Game Boy music on here when you play in Endless mode. But when you're playing in World Tour mode, you go between the different towns. Once you've done so many lines, you'll see down in the corner our title character there, Crowley. He'll hop on from Moscow and we move on to the next country. There we go, right on cue. And now we're in Paris. And we get a rather cool rendition of the French national anthem. With a little bit of a mix thrown in. But yeah, I mean, it's Tetris. There ain't that much more to say about that. But as far as the presentation goes, it plays well. Everything's nice and clear. And, being able to progress and have some nice graphics and stuff at the sides just adds a bit more character to it. There you go. Alan says this game uses dual AYs for everything, full 6 channels. So that's why you got some such good music on this.
It's all falling apart. Tetris.
Rob Utley says he's bought the Hollow Earth hypothesis. Now he's just waiting for his next, so he's happy with that.
I feel you, brother.
I don't know if Rob's actually ordered his yet or whether he's waiting for the second Kickstarter, but see, I'm hoping that people now... I mean, I've been talking about these games for the best part of 2 years.
Don't focus on me, focus on that.
I'm going to.
Nobody's interested in my fucking face.
But, you've only really had my opinions of them, to date. Now, I've covered these with some of the guys, and obviously a lot of you have played these at events, but It's when you get home and you get to really sit with it and you're using a proper necks to do it on, you get to really appreciate that these games, they're not just lazy rehashes or reworkings of, old games. They feel Spectrum-ish, but somehow they take on a new identity, and it's like they feel what a next game feels like, in your head, the way you've pictured them. They've got their own unique feel to them, and people only really understand that when they actually sit and play them for themselves, I've described these games to a lot of people, but it's only when you actually sit with them and play them that you realise exactly what I'm talking about. There's no real frame of reference because it's a completely new system.
It's a totally different animal, isn't it?
It is completely. And considering you got to remind yourself that this is only an 8-bit system. This puts a lot of the 16-bit systems to shame, in part because the coders have learned so much over, 30 years of history. But obviously because even though it's only using like an 8-bit system, it's got all the extra capabilities plugged into it that make it look like it's so much more.
Fucking London.
Oh, there you go. Rob says he's got an accelerated version coming, and he had a development board as well, and he's going to buy another in the Kickstarter too. You know what?
All right, bank robber.
I know, yeah.
Bank robber or drug dealer.
I'm tempted to get another one myself. I don't know why. I just want another one. Woody's saying now he's seen all this, he really wants the next, so he can't wait to get one. Woody says, to me, this looks and feels like what a Sinclair machine would have been if they'd stuck around for the 16-bit era. That was exactly what they were going for, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think as well. I do now, so I've heard somebody say it.
But you know what? I think that's what they were going for, and I think that's where the games are kind of headed. I mean, we've seen some impressive stuff already, but even all this is in a patch on what's coming. I mean, you've only got to look at some of the work being done by Kev Brady to see some of the just crazy shit that this system's going to be capable of, which might not seem much by modern standards, but in terms of an 8-bit system that's completely undocumented, it's documented now, but was completely undocumented. They've had to basically create its hardware standard. The stuff's going to look just incredible.
No.
You're going to flunk out, ain't you, mate? You're going to end up stuck in Bangkok.
Oh
no, you're going from ladyboys to speedos now.
Mate, there's plenty of ladyboys in Rio. So I've heard.
So you've heard, yeah. Well, that just so you know, that's my high score at the top you're competing against.
I haven't looked across at that, mate.
Well, you're on 13,000, I got 101,000.
Oh, so that ain't going to happen then. Not today.
Admittedly, I played it with full concentration, and I was just riding Tetrises from the start. Yeah, the r.a.m. music's awesome, Mike. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the r.a.m. music. This dude on the right's a bit sinister though. He's freaking me out.
Fucked it.
That's the thing with Tetris. You only have to fuck up one line, 2 or 3 bad drops, and you just go to pieces.
Everything sounds like a drug reference.
But yeah, Crowley World Tour, I love this. Some people weren't as impressed by it, but I'm a big fan of Tetris, you see.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be good to have a Tetris game with a bit of character on the Spectrum next. I don't see the problem. It's perfect.
Dun. Land of orange people in wigs.
It's all over. Oh.
It's gone to pieces.
Trouble is, I'll tell you why I fucked up a lot there, because I played the Game Boy version most, and if you pressed up on the D-pad on the Game Boy version, nothing happened.
No.
You had to just press down for it to speed up. But on this and other versions, if you press up, it just lands at the bottom. So
right.
I've been pressing up by accident.
Oh, to drop it to the floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is in the criticism on the game.
No,
not
at all.
Criticism on my playing.
Right, well, while we're on the subject, now, we've got a few... I've shown you most of the games before now, and I'm already kind of dragging this out a bit. I promise you I'll be able to show you some new games. Now, I've been sent a few little things from various people, And I've been sent a few different things which I've been kind of holding on to for a little while. And the guys have said, well, now the neck's out, and now I'm going to be doing streams using my full system. Might as well show you something new for a change. You've seen a lot of screenshots of various things. You've had a few teasers, and you've seen a lot of games that are kind of in the works. But there was a few that were a lot closer to being done than I kind of already understood. Now, one of them, which kind of came out of nowhere, go down to Flappy Necks, mate. Is this. Now, this has been sent to me by John McManus. Now, John McManus is the main coder on Monkey McGee, and he's been working on some things on the side which nobody has really been kind of paying that much attention to, because he's just been kind of doing it kind of under the radar at the moment. But he's got this hope of creating what he said is going to be the next equivalent of the what's it called? The no, the how is it called? Cassette 50 for the Spectrum. If anyone who remembers that, it was a collection of games that were coded mostly in BASIC and all stuck on one tape you could get for a cheap price. And because he's been practicing some of his coding skills and the different languages and that, he's been cobbling together some few very basic games. And this was the first one he actually knocked together. And he said this didn't take him very long at all. And he sent it over to me the other day. And obviously, as you can see, it's Flappy Next. And what this is just basically a very
difficult,
very, very, very difficult, as we've discovered.
Stupidly difficult. Well, put it like this: my ice score on Flappy Birds was back in the day was about 170 something. My ice score on this is 12.
So this is a port of Flappy, well, a kind of version of Flappy Bird, but you're controlling a funky little flying Spectrum Next, which is nicely drawn in pixel art there. It differs slightly. We said there's now kind of inertia, is there, with the flapping, so yeah. It's very hard to control between the not pipes, they're boots on this one. But I mean, it's very basic. He said it's only supposed to be a very quick win, but at the end of the day, Flappy Bird was only a very basic game, and the challenge is to either just tap space or tap fire on your Kempston joystick or B on your Mega Drive pad, and just balance your Flappy Next between the boots. And we've given this a lot of trial and error, and the best I could manage was about 4. Aaron came on, played it once today, and he already got to 12, but he was kicking the wall because it's just so damn difficult.
It's fucking shit. It's great. I just crap at it.
It's infuriating, but it's addictive in it. So sorry about the squeaking. My dog's playing with his chew toy. Yeah, SD50. There you go. Mike's just come with there. The SD50, and he said, wouldn't it be nice if people? There's a lot of people now starting to experiment and coding with the Next. Wouldn't it be nice now, with how capable the BASIC is on this thing? It wouldn't be a shit heap like Cassette 50 was. I reckon a load of people now could put together some really quick win games like this and make an SD50 for the Next. And how cool would that be if it's being completely contributed and put together by the people who are out there just coding at home like they used to on the Spectrum?
Is the bloke who made this watching?
John, no, I don't think he is. He'll probably watch it after the fact. I did say I was going to be covering it very soon.
I just wonder what the background was.
It was just a city by the look of it. Just a basic city. Just something. He said it was something he cobbled together quite quick. It doesn't scroll, unfortunately, but then again, it's not too distracting at the end of the day. So, like I say,
it's annoying.
Well, he coded it quick. It was more of an exercise in improving scrolling routines and
an exercise in it to piss me off.
And I mean, you can see just how smooth those things move. There's no jittering going on. That is pure 60 frames per second scrolling there.
Well, hey! I love it. Best game ever.
You beat it. So that is Flappy Next anyway. A very basic game, but obviously something that nobody has seen yet. So, why not?
And why not?
You think next games would take forever to load from tape? Probably would. Now, another thing I wanted to show. Now, a while back, I showed you a demo of Pac-Man on the Next, which was the first experimentation that Mike Ware and the guys at Rusty Pixels have been doing around creating some kind of emulation for the Next. and I covered it briefly, and it's actually evolved a little bit from then. But I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. So this is the version I originally showed you all a little while back. It's basically what they've done is using the original arcade ROMs for these games. They've found a way to make the Next interpret the original arcade ROMs. So all the AI, all the game function, all the way everything's controlled works exactly the same as it did in the arcade. But then what they've done is they've kind of included a sort of interpreter which allows the Next to display it using its palettes, its graphics, and to be able to recreate the sound in a way that the AI chip can understand. So it's kind of an emulator, but not really. There's a lot more work gone into it besides that. And the guys did a fantastic job with porting Pac-Man, as you can see here. This is the I think it's the Western Midway Pac-Man original, the Midway version. But there are a few other different ports and clones of this that do exist, and I know they want to look at working with those as well. Now, just while you're playing, I'm going to try and do this on the fly. If I tap the V button, the V key on the keyboard, you see we can switch that up, and we've got like much like the home console ports would have been. You've got a side rendered HUD, which just shows your score and your credits and everything on the side. Also shows you what prizes you've collected.
And the screen scrolls.
And the screen scrolls. So you can view it that way if you want to. I mean, I prefer the fixed screen display because I like to picture the whole screen as the playfield as a whole when I play Pac-Man. But you've got that option. I'm really going to throw you off now, but I'm going to change it to another mode which you can actually have. And you can actually rotate the...
And the controls move with you as
well.
And
the controls move with you, which is good.
So that controls exactly as you would expect it to.
So pressing up is actually moving you right on the screen, yeah.
Up on the screen, yeah.
So you can still play it this way, as crazy as it is.
Yeah, you can,
but if you've got if you're doing this with a VGA monitor, with a rotating stand, you could have a full vertically oriented display.
So if you move the telly around now, can you change the controls?
Yes, I think you can change the controls to suit that. So, but then again, you could just turn your controller, couldn't you, and hold your controller that way, couldn't you?
Yes, actually. Yeah,
so it wouldn't be a big deal either way, would it? It's only a one-handed game, so. And by that, I don't mean
my favourite kind of game.
Yeah, a one-handed game, not a left-handed website. There's a difference.
What's a left-handed website?
Porn.
A left-handed website.
Yeah, because you browse with your left hand.
Oh, all right, fair enough. I get jokes.
So that is Pac-Man on the Next. I'm going to switch it back to my default display because this is how I prefer it. Because
now put the other one on.
What, the scrolling one?
Yeah. Because the way you got your telly resolution, you couldn't see the.
Yeah, it does miss the bottom off. Yeah. Should mention there, because I've got this in HDMI 60 Hz. There is a little bit of overscan at the top and the bottom. I quite like that because for most Next games, it kind of displays them nearly full screen. You can see it goes to the very top, and the bottom. But when you've got it in that other mode, it does cut off the bottom slightly, doesn't it? So yeah, there you go, Don. It requires the original arcade ROMs, which you'll have to source yourself. Oh, Mike's just said there. If you press J on the keyboard, it rotates the control.
Perfect.
So that is perfect if you make yourself an arcade joystick or something. So you need the arcade ROMs, but then the rest of the data is contained within this application that they've created. So anyway, that's Pac-Man anyway. I did show you that before. And it is arcade perfect. I mean, you've played the arcade plenty of times, haven't you?
I'm a massive Pac-Man fan and this is brilliant.
I mean, that works brilliantly. I mean, people were talking about the possibilities of what arcade ports were going to be like on the Next. Well, this is pretty much the arcade version. It's not even a port, is it?
Ah! Yeah, that'll do.
So hit reset. So what they've done is the guys have built on that, and if you go to upper folder and go to that r.a.m.s there, you can see that the guys have actually been working on a couple more games. Now, we'd already showed Pac-Man. If you go to Hangly Man was one of the clone versions of this. I think it was based on the Puckman original Japanese version. Where basically it's the same game, but you can see some of the names have been changed. If you add some credit to the start button. I should mention, by the way, it's been nicely done for a Mega Drive joypad, because start adds credits, C is your start button, and then B is your in-game button if you need it. And you can see you've got the kind of strange maze layout that's associated with this hangry man. But all said and done, it's still basically the same game. You've got very similar enemy AI. You still collect your dots just the same. You've just got a weird maze layout with more exits at the side. And it's a hell of a lot bloody harder, I'll tell you that for nothing. So we've got that. And again, you can change the viewpoint and everything on that. What I did show you briefly before was Donkey Kong. But I didn't show you the one fully working. So if you go to that.
The Japan one, or?
Either's fine.
What's the one we played earlier?
It is the one we played earlier, the Japanese one, yeah. So I did briefly show you this on my last stream, but Mike had kind of rushed it together. The palette wasn't fixed, there was no sound. This is now fully done. And as you can hear, we've got full music, we've got full sound effects. We've got the sideways, the side hood like we saw on Pac-Man just. And we've got full joypad control like before, with B to jump. And hoping he doesn't fuck up. Aaron is actually quite good at Donkey Kong, which is obviously a notoriously hard game. The home ports were never that difficult, but the arcade game was always difficult. Well played. You know what, Woody? You're totally right. Rusty says Rusty Pixels seem to be the developer for the next. You got to realise, mate, they have been so closely tied to the development of the hardware, as well as obviously Jim being kind of the face of it as far as the advertising goes.
Imagine having that as your company's face. Sorry, until I get my next. He's getting no
both
quarter.
barrels.
He's getting no quarter from me.
Mike says, little tip. Just remember, when you're at the top of a ladder, barrels will not roll down.
Oh, right, okay.
So as long as you linger close to it, it won't fall on your head, but you need to be very close to the top.
I did not know that.
Well, there's no barrels on this stage, so it won't make any difference, but... yeah, so this is the Japanese ROM. That's why you're straight into the Pie Factory for level 2.
Ah!
But you can see the collision detection is exactly the same as the arcade. It's very unforgiving.
It feels identical.
The arcade game is... It's for lack of a better term, the controls are slightly stiff, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's
getting off ladders and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this is very much, well, it's obviously it's using the same logic, so it's doing exactly the same. But you can see, you know, again, this is, you know, besides the slightly altered AY sound you got going on, the slightly different palette going on. That was so lucky.
I meant to do that. Played for that was.
And the slightly different palette, this is arcade perfect. There you go, it's identical. And again, you need the proper arcade ROMs in order to play this, which obviously you'll need to source yourself. There's no getting around that. It's
naughty.
Yeah, but the program that's being used, the potential is there, for this to be used. There's a potential to make this into a kind of arcade game designer kind of program in theory. If you could create your own skins and your own interpreter for the data, you could have a game that played exactly the same, but use your own assets. So you could have a game that put you inside it or something, which I think would be quite interesting.
Ah! Fuck!
Oh!
Is your shit joypad?
Yeah. There you go. All right, Ian. Little in-joke there for anybody who comes to Revival.
Yeah,
controller's fault.
It'd be easier with a stick, definitely.
It would. It is. It's a brilliant version. Like I say, there's nothing even comes close. It's not a port. It is. Whoa! How did you get away with that? It's the exact game.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Well, there you go.
But again, and I will quickly show it if it works. Darius said, "Oh,
sorry, mate.
Sorry, I'll show it in the next game." But they've added in.
Oh, did you want to do the screens? changing.
No, it's all right. We're not going to show Galaxian. Galaxian was working, but there is a slight fault with it, so we're not going to show that just yet. But if you go back up a folder, if you go down to the next screen, there's a r.a.m.s.next there towards the bottom. Now, the way this is all going to be presented eventually is using this. Now, this, for anybody who's ever used MAME on PC, this is going to look very familiar. What they've actually done is they've created a front end for it. And you can see what you just use your joypad to select the game on there. You can see a couple of the titles there we were just showing you examples of. Frogger, not been done yet, but you can see Frogger's on the list. And if we go towards the bottom, you can see we've got a little bit of information about the game at the bottom. So, much like a PC arcade front end, you've got a little screenshot at the side. You've got the data and publisher on there, as well as a little bit of information on there. And for anybody who's wondering, it stands for Rusty Arcade Machine Simulator. So, this is basically the next version of MAME. It doesn't work exactly the same as MAME, like I say. There's a lot more work has to go into it in order for the next to interpret the graphics and the sound. But yes, you use the arcade actual ROMs, and then using the assets, the custom asset interpreter that they've created for this, you can actually, eventually you'll be able to tie it all into this. At the moment, this is non-functional, so you can't actually select any of these games yet. This is just a kind of proof of concept, but yes, those games that they've interpreted so far, they're mostly Z80 based games, they'll be able to be launched from this cool little front end. So you've basically got Next MAME is the way people have been dubbing it, including myself. And r.a.m.s is a nice little acronym for it. So but yeah, that's how it all ties together anyway. So just hit the reset, mate. So the final game I really want to touch on, without falling over the chair, is now a lot of people had asked about the origins of this Crowley character. Now Crowley, obviously, we just saw in Crowley World Tour, he replaced a certain character that became a little bit controversial towards the end of last year, and so it became a little bit controversial. But Crowley has become a character within himself, a little red dude who looks a little bit like a sack of potatoes, a little bit like a certain pink Nintendo HAL mascot. But he's taken on a bit of character of his own. Now,
is the person who created him watching? Or will he watch?
I'm not sure. You know what, I'll ask, guys, if anybody knows the true origins of the name Crowley and the character Crowley.
Or is he? I just want to know if it's anything to do with Alistair Crowley, because there's quite a lot of sort of satanic vibes going on one of the levels, so I just wondered if it was...
Well, there you go, it might be related. But yeah, so the guy has taken on a character of his own. Now, as much as everyone wanted Baggers to be the icon of the next, the mascot, we've got Crowley. And for anybody who's wondering what his origins are, I was sent this game earlier today. Now, I must explain, this is only a tech demo, but this is going to evolve into a complete game, and this is called Crowley Beginnings. And this is going to be the first any of you will have seen of this, because I've only just been sent a complete build of it. And as you can see, we've got our little titular character in the corner there, Crowley. And if you hit the C button, he should shoot some crap out of his mouth. And if you hit the B button, he should jump. And the way we've likened it, we were saying it feels a lot like...
he jumps and controls a lot like... It's got a bubble feel to it.
Yeah.
And Kirby, to be honest.
Bit like Kirby, Bubble Bobble, Snow Brothers, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dude has to jump around these platforms and collect the little angels. And if you don't collect them in time, they turn into these little demons. So as you saw there, you had to shoot him again. And if he leaves him too long, he turns back into a demon. So you have to grab him and collect him while he's still a little angel. And then once you do that, you open up the exit and move on to the next stage. Now, obviously, this is just a proof of concept. From what I've been told by the guys, this is going to become a full game. But it's already... I mean, I was told it was just a tech demo. I was expecting a screen full of blocks and maybe one sprite. But we've got full stages going on here. We've got full animations. We've got sound effects. We've got a pretty cool music.
You can't die yet. It's not dodgy collision detection. You literally can't die yet.
Yeah, you can't die yet, but you can collect things obviously, and you can kill the enemies. So it's a lot more functional than we thought, and you can actually pass each level. So there's only 2 stages on here, but this was the exclusive I really wanted to show you because the guys haven't given any clues about this yet. Nobody's seen anything of it. And the first I saw of it was about 3 hours ago, so we've been having a bit of a mess around with it. And from what we've seen so far, it's looking really impressive. Now, the final game won't just be a fixed stage affair. It will be using a kind of parallax scrolling. Each stage will scroll, the backgrounds will scroll, from what I understand. And it's got a lot of personality. I mean, if I just zoom in on the little crowny character, if you just make him fire some crap out and that. I mean, there's a lot going on in such a small sprite, really, and he's got a fair bit of inertia to his character, and like I say, it feels a lot like
there's a lot of control.
There's a lot of control.
You've got complete control over your jump point in the air.
Yeah, you've got about the same kind of Mario-like inertia. You jump forward, you can't just turn straight round.
Yeah, I mean,
slow yourself.
Yeah, on the ground as well. There's a
acceleration.
Bit of acceleration and deceleration.
So I think, yeah, this could evolve into something really cool. He says, leave the character that chases you, he will try and follow you everywhere. So if you kill him and leave the thing that comes out of it, he should chase you about everywhere, apparently. Oh yeah, he does, he flies right up. Little square head demon things. But yeah, there's a lot going on in a little space. This music weirdly reminds me of A Clockwork Orange.
It's I'm trying to think what it's called. It'll come to me about 3 o'clock in the morning. What this song is?
Yeah, I do remember it from Clockwork Orange. It's there's a lot of weird.
Well, if it's from Clockwork
Beethoven
Orange,
stuff.
It's got to be Beethoven.
It's bound to be Beethoven, yeah. If anybody knows, just say so.
No,
Oh, he says, leave the character that chases you on the ground.
But that one?
Yeah, just don't kill anything. Just kind of run around. Jump up a few platforms. Oh, yeah, he follows you, so he does actually...
there's some AI there.
Yeah, there's some AI going on. Oh, he's proper chasing you as well.
Yeah, I had no idea of that.
It's alright when you know you can't die.
Yeah, that'll be really difficult. When you can actually... Is it going to be... you're going to have an energy bar or one hit or what?
I'm guessing it'll be one hit. I wouldn't think there'd be an energy bar. Mind you, if they're going to be scrolling stages, they might be longer. There might be energy. I can see... obviously down here we've got a lives counter. And Glee, that's the little angel things that you're collecting.
Oh, I noticed they can hop down levels, but... Are we going to be able to hop down levels or what?
Have you tried pressing down and jump?
Yeah, I ain't fucking retarded.
And you can't jump. So yes, if they can go down, that really is going to screw you up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of potential here for this game. Oh, the Hunters, that's what Alan said they're called.
Hunters?
Obviously that's what was featured on Crowley World Tour. That was that demon thing at the side of the screen, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, so I mean that's shaping up pretty well, isn't it? That's definitely got a lot of potential. Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Can you stop trying to...
I know, yeah, I keep falling over the damn chair. So yeah, that's Crowley World Tour. So what do you think then, Az? I mean, you've properly got to grips today with a lot of these.
I'll give you my opinion when I check my mailbox and see what copies I've been given for free. No. It's every one of them's good. Every single one of them's good. There's, the only criticisms are like sort of personal sensibilities rather than criticisms of the actual coding or the graphics or anything like that. But my favourite game is probably that
Tiberium.
And that's the only one I've got any kind of criticism with because of that pulsating graphics. That might just be me. Everybody else might think it's really alluring. To me, it makes me feel a bit seasick. But other than that, every single game is great. So
there you go. The next definitely got a lot of potential. I mean, the system itself, I mean, it's been covered in a lot of videos. I'll probably do a bit more of a hardware overview when I fully upgraded mine. But I mean, it's everything it was promised to be. The keyboard is fantastic.
Yeah, it feels great.
You've got a proper layout for your cursor keys if gaming on a keyboard is your thing. And the response is just so much better than that crappy membrane thing. I mean, you've got proper sprung keys, you know, they bounce back the way they should. You've got dedicated keys for the, there you go, your space bar's nice and responsive. You've got dedicated keys for your punctuation marks, which is obviously needed. And yeah, I mean, the system, it's got some proper weight to it. That was something I didn't anticipate. I thought it was going to be very lightweight, like a lot of
like a Dream Pioneer 3D printed shell that you can skim across the cut.
Yeah, and it definitely isn't. I mean, the system weighs a fair bit. It does weigh about £1 or so. Compared to the development next that I've got there, it's got some real weight to it. And it's just very, very well built. And seeing now, I mean, I've written... no more games to look at. Go on. I'll tell you what, but we'll take a look at... Just before we go, I don't think we covered Foreign Cabinet, did we? That was one I showed you earlier.
We can just put something on while you're talking, may as well.
Go on then, we can
what we putting on?
Foreign Cabinet. That's...
that one hurt my brain. It's good.
But you know what? I don't think I've covered it properly, so up a couple. There you go. Yeah, this is something I didn't get to cover in proper detail before, guys, but this is a game that's been put out by r.a.m.s, which is... There was a game on the original Spectrum called Splitting Images back in the day, which I had no experience with, but it was just basically a semi-satirical kind of puzzle slidey game.
Spitting Image.
It was taken from that name, yeah. You had to create pictures of Ronald Reagan and whoever the other leaders were at the time. I think Maggie Thatcher might have been on there.
Yeah.
And obviously this one is a take on that, and instead of the leaders of the past, we've got Theresa May, we've got Kim Jong-il there with his finger on the red button. So slightly political in nature, but as far as the game goes, it couldn't be more straightforward. It's one of those puzzle slidey games, which obviously...
But there's a lot more to it.
There's definitely a lot more going on, we discovered, because when you first turned on, you was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, I find them puzzle slidey games difficult anyway. But this it's an head fuck, it really is. I mean, like that little, where my cursor is at the moment, on the right you can see a bit of a sort of what looks like a flame.
Yeah.
And at the bottom you can see a flame that keeps reappearing and reappearing. Well, that will bounce
your tile, yeah.
This is a red button. I don't exactly know what it does, but the different ones that come out, like, there you go, that's a new.
1 second, please. Sorry about that, guys. Go on, join in. That's right, my dogs have decided there's something out there they don't like. In there? Something you don't like?
Go on, you sort the dogs out. I mean, that was... I didn't know that would work. I shot the red button into the nuke and it came up with a bonus. You'll get, like, bombs come out and you have to get rid of them quickly. Otherwise, well, they explode because you've got lives as well down the bottom. You've got what I think is a time bar. It's, yeah, that's a timer. You see the doors appearing and reappearing. You can get rid of tiles and get rid of icons through those. It's really... It's quite complex for a tile moving game. It's too complex for me. I'd have to get some practice in. It's quite difficult, but it's good. It controls perfectly. It does exactly what you want it to do when you want it to do it. My only criticism was, I don't know whether it was done purposely to make it more difficult, but I find it makes it a bit too difficult. If the picture you're working from was in colour, it would help, because especially when you've got, like, you see there's a grey square there, a grey square there, a grey square there, it sort of, depending on the picture, it sort of gets a bit complicated when you're dealing with just a collage of blue in the corner, but otherwise, you know, damn good.
So yeah, so that is Foreign Cabinet from Lampros Potamianos. Another one of his free games I think he's put out. I mean, he's done a few already. I mean, Lampros originally did Nextoid, which was the first game we ever saw properly created for the Next. And obviously from there, he's just been working on quite a few personal projects. But yeah, the Hollow Earth Hypothesis is kind of his premium game at the moment, and this is just something... he said it was very close to heart because it's something he used to play a lot as a kid himself. And Obviously, you can see how you're getting a bit better with it, mate. It's just, I think it's just one frame too low.
Yeah.
His finger's in the right place.
Hmm.
In fact, if you slide the left half of his head up, that's in the right position then. Oh, you can't now. Oh, that's right. Yeah, there you go. So you can see he's getting there now, guys.
Oh, it is difficult though. Maybe it's just difficult for me. I don't know.
See, I think when it comes to these games, you're either... It's like, I remember playing with just proper desktop puzzles of these, not on a computer.
Yeah.
And I always found them really difficult. I don't know what it is. I think your brain can either deal with it or can't.
Yeah.
It's like Sudokus. I'm really good at Sudoku, but I can't do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My missus, she can solve a bloody Sudoku in minutes.
I mean, see, that's new. I don't know what that is. I mean, it looks like a jerry can, but what it does, I couldn't even...
Well, there's matches, so maybe if a match comes out and you dump it in that, you blow up a load of tiles.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
There you go. Lampros says the key is to actually... Now, I know when that explodes, it kills some of your tiles. You lose a life, don't you?
Ah, yeah. So I needed to get that off the screen.
Yeah, what Lampros says, he says the trick is to basically build it from the bottom upwards. So, dump tiles until you find the bottom pieces. So, now you know. I think to make that work, you'd have to start again, because now it's just a cluster.
Oh, no.
You're definitely going to die, mate.
It's all over. The mine's been destroyed.
Well, you got one life left, anyway. And I'll tell you one more we should play, actually, in a minute, because you've told me that you... proved your prowess earlier or yesterday at Chris's house, his scramble.
Yeah, kicked his ass. Yeah, I'm completely... It's too much for me. It's great. It's too much for my feeble, drug-addled brain.
I'll tell you one you haven't played yet, actually. Angry Blouters. Somebody just mentioned it on here. You haven't played that at all yet, so give that a quick whirl. It should be on the next page. There you go, at the very top. Angry Blouters. Yeah, this is another one from Lampros as well, I forgot to mention. And again, this is something else he's put out there for free. So, very generous guy, Lampros. You should instantly get to grips with it, mate.
Oh, it's Bomber?
It certainly is.
The
original game... apparently, the original game, I only found this out recently, it had a really strange name on the original Spectrum. It was called... I'm sure someone can tell us. Something and the Blouters, it was called.
I remember the one on the Archimedes was like Moonquake or something.
Yeah, no, this was called something like Kevin and the Blouters or something like that. But even though it looks like a Bomberman clone, it's not. It was originally made by Hudson. What they did is they made Bomberman. They wanted to port it to the home consoles, but there was some kind of weird licensing thing, so they handed it to another software house to work on, and it is Bomberman and was always intended to be Bomberman.
Yeah.
But there you go, Eric and the Floaters, that's what it was called. And then they basically renamed it and reskinned it into that, and it just became the Spectrum's version of Bomberman. So it is actually still Hudson's original game. I always thought it was just a clone. That's quite cool. You can actually dip off the screen at the sides like Pac-Man. I know the rules are slightly different on this. Obviously, you can walk through your bombs, which you couldn't do on original Bomberman. The enemies can pass through it and change direction. And I also know that you need to kill every enemy before you go through an exit, and do it within the time limit, because there is a sort of time limit. Else you don't actually properly complete the level. It lets you go on, but you don't properly complete it. It's very hard. I struggled a little bit with clearing the... going around the corners using a joypad, but you're managing all right.
Well, I struggled to start with because I was trying to do it by pressing the individual buttons left and right, because usually find with most games like this, diagonals aren't very good. Well, on this, diagonals really work. Diagonals will... you watch me go around this corner now by just pressing individual left and right.
Don't mind me, guys, I'm just plugging this in. We're running a bit low on battery, so...
If I try and get around this corner by just pressing left and then trying to press down
Yeah.
to find yourself get stuck. But if you hold the diagonal, you just slide straight round.
Oh, I get you.
Did you even have that on the screen?
I kind of do. Just give me a sec to plug it in,
Okay.
so I'm about to run out of battery. Sorry. You want to demonstrate that again?
Right. I'll go to the top, this corner here. If I try and do it like I would normally do it with another Bomberman game by just pressing left
Yeah.
and then trying to press up, you sort of
Sli-
find yourself getting stuck.
Yeah, you'd slide round on the console version.
Well,
yeah.
you can slide round on this if you hold the diagonal.
If you hit the okay,
so
I
you'll
get it
round.
now.
Once you know that, you get round really quick.
Okay, that makes sense. I know, I'm used to playing like the SNES Bomberman, and with that, when you're close to a corner, if you kind of tap the other direction,
It pushes you
it
round.
kind of slides you around the corner, yeah.
But you have to do it yourself by pressing diagonal on this.
That was something we were trying to work out when it came to doing Revival Survival, you see. Speaking of which, it's had a very, very minor update, and we'll touch on that just before we leave. Duncan says it was region dependent, so there was actually... the ROM has a dip switch settings to change the Dynablast Bomb. The arcade version did, yes, yeah. So that is Angry Bloaters, people, in case you hadn't seen it fully. I did show an early version of this, but it's been tidied up a little bit since then. If you want to reset it, mate, and just jump onto Revival Survival.
Save the crap till last.
Oh, yeah, of course. Now, I know there's a lot of you watching this now or are going to be watching this back. You've only just discovered the next and you don't really know what it's all about. Next page. Very bottom there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, obviously, I've done my own game. This is based on a game. This is Revival Survival. It's a game I made and built an arcade machine for several years ago, based around the Revival events that we do. Now, what we did is I spoke a couple of years ago to Jim about the possibility of arcade ports on the Next. Don't fire up just yet. I spoke to Jim about the possibility of arcade ports, and he said he needed something that didn't have an IP attached to it. So I said, well, I've got a game, why don't you give this a whirl? And in the end, I ended up working with them, and we ended up putting together a pretty faithful port of the version that I made for my arcade machine, which is actually done on PC already, so it was very easy to convert a lot of the assets. And I've still got a lot of a way to go on this, but since I've been posting recently, and since so many more people have joined the Next group who are now discovering the Next, they asked about this game and what it's all about, and they asked to see a video. We've not mentioned much about it, and you won't have seen it at all the events, but you'll certainly have seen it at Revival. And obviously this is a game that we are planning to fully release. It's been worked on between me and the guys at Rusty Pixels. Obviously they're doing all the coding, Alan's converting all the music, and I'm converting all the graphics for the game. I've had to redesign all the stages to fit the Next screen, but this does a few tricks that the early Next games didn't do, such as dumping the hood off into the border area. And as you can see, I mean, the way I've set my screen up, I talked about it filling the screen properly. You can see that the hood now goes to the very top of the screen and doesn't drop into the overscan zone. And at the bottom, the lines just about fit on the screen. So we've got the screen proportions perfect on this. Now, the reason I'm talking about this game, like I say, not everybody's seen it yet. It hasn't had any updates for a while because there's been other things going on. But it is going to be finished. And after talking to some of the guys who are involved, the developers feel that everybody should get a chance to see this. So I can tell you now, Jim and Mike are compiling a 2-stage demo of this, which is now going to be distributed in the next distribution. So the next update that comes out for Next ZXOS, as well as all the other demos you've got going on in there, you're going to be able to play 2 levels of Revival Survival. It'll only be the single player mode. Obviously the next version is going to have a proper 2-player deathmatch, in which you'll be able to play as not only me as the main character, you'll be able to play as this chimp, you'll be able to play as several members of the Revival team, and you'll also be able to play as several of the developers. Jim, Mike, well, all of the Mikes are going to be in there. Kev, probably Tim, Mike C, probably Gary will all be in there as well. So you'll be able to play as most of the Next development team that you've seen going to the events and everything. So it's going to be pretty cool. We've not worked out the finer points of it yet, but a 2-player mode for this should be a lot of fun. Obviously, this is one of the games that takes advantage of the Mega Drive controller. It's a 2-button game, so you've got jump and you've got shoot, as well as your 4 directions. You can play with the keyboard, you can play with the Kempston, but at the moment you can only shoot, you can't jump on a joystick. If we can work out a system whereby you can actually activate a jump by double tapping the button or something, we're going to try and do that. But at the moment we're still building all the levels, and like I say, pretty soon you're all going to get a chance to play this as well.
Can I play it yet?
Yes.
Thank you.
So just press fire, mate.
Alright, okay.
So this is the story. We're starting a revival event, and basically something goes weird with the games, and the games come to life. The enemies start crawling out of the games and start stealing everything from the event, and it's my job to save it. Bit self-indulgent, I know, but at the end of the day, what better premise than using yourself? The game itself, I'm going over old ground for some of you, but it's basically a maze chase game. So much like Pac-Man or possibly Gauntlet, but you've got elements of battle in there. So you don't just evade the enemies; you actually have to shoot the enemies and break them open to get some of the games back. And you can also destroy parts of the scenery, and you can actually jump. So you're not just locked down to a solid grid, if you know what I mean. You can see the character overlaps the background in certain places, so you do get a sort of 2.5 dimensional effect. And the idea is to collect all of the games on each stage before you progress. There will be some different elements later on in the game, and like I say, 2-player mode is going to throw a few more things into the mix as well. Mike's just said there about the possibility of adding custom characters for the second 2-player mode, using Spread It and a template that you could add your own player. So there you go, guys. You've seen the sprite editors that people like Dave Sapphire are working on, and you've seen some of the guys like Dave Hall posting videos up of on the next groups this week about doing sprite editing directly on the system. If you edit your own sprites, they're going to try and work in a way whereby you can add your own characters in and put yourself into the game, which I think would be a nice touch for people. Like I say, a little self-indulgent it may be, but when I created this game, it was just a bit of fun. But as far as the game goes, I mean, it is a bona fide game, and people who've played it...
On a serious note, I know I'll take the piss because you're my mate, but it is really good. I could play this over and over again, easy. I
mean, it's incredibly playable. It is a big challenge. You're making it look easy because you've played it a lot of times. But there's only a handful of the characters in at the moment. So there's going to be a lot more background characters. There's going to be a lot more enemy characters. The special characters aren't all in it yet. But you can, anybody who knows the UK eventing scene and knows the UK retro gaming scene, a lot of these characters will look familiar. You can see the tourniquet standing in the middle there. Obviously, that was my old endeavour there, building the custom arcade machines. You can see Andy Palmer over there, the gaffer of Arcade Club, and obviously they sponsor our events and bring machines. And you can see a few other characters. We've got the virtual reality machine at the bottom. We've got members of the team. There's Big Vinny floating around at the bottom.
There's Taylor.
Unmistakable. There is this man's daughter.
Dressed up as Dan.
Dressed up as Dan, throwing some fireballs. Down there we've got my wife. We've got Simon Hardy off the team there. And I'm trying to see what else. We've got Simon Marston, who works at r.a.m.s. He's floating around at the top there. And we've got a couple of other people. I believe the character on the cycle called the Cyclopath.
Oh, very good, very good.
Very good. The sprite's not finished on here.
I hate them fucking barrels.
He's a big cyclist, and he wanted to come in the game as an enemy, so I made him this nutter cyclist who kind of blasts around at high speed, and he does move very, very fast. Don't forget you got to jump. Everyone always forgets they've got to jump to get out of situations. Nice. Whoa! It does start to get difficult from this level onwards. The original arcade game had 10 stages, with the final stage intending to be a proper boss fight. Because of the nature of the screens on this, I've actually broken down some of the stages, and we're actually going to have close to 20 stages on this one. So, although that might seem short in terms of modern games, you can see how difficult this can be, and at the end of the day, it's an arcade blaster. It's an high score chaser.
You don't need a lot of levels, you just need to get good at the levels that are there.
We did a high score challenge on this demo version at Revival last weekend, and people were enjoying it. And obviously pretty soon you're going to be able to sample it yourself. And once all the enemies and everything are in, along with the rather cool soundtrack that it's got, that does pump you up a fair bit. Slight sound glitch there. But that's as far as you can go. This level is just a test level. So you can't actually complete it.
This is my favourite level.
Yes, Woody, you will be in there, mate. Chris Parsons said he'll edit everything to be Vectrexes. You know what, mate? You've just given me a good idea for a stage. We may add custom characters. Yeah, we just talked about that. So yeah, so anybody who's not seen that so far, that is Revival Survival. That is the game of Revival Retro Events. That is my game that I'm quite proud of, and pretty soon it should be in the next distribution, so you'll all get a chance to play it. So, but yeah, that's as far as we've got so far on these builds. There's a couple more stages I've completed, but you're not going to get to see those for a little while yet. There's a lot more characters to add in, and then we've got to fine-tune the AI so it works slightly better for the smaller screen and still represents a good challenge. So, but there you go. Got me stealing your MVS. No, not quite yet, Andy. I believe you are in the game somewhere, though, if I remember rightly. I've got so many characters. I've got about 100 characters I've got to move over to this. And then I've got to make the extra guys as well. So there's a lot of sprite work I've got to do. I did every pixel on this game myself, by the way. Even though the characters are obviously inspired by game characters, they're not the same.
They are.
And there's a lot of original enemies in there as well.
See you in court.
But yeah, so there you go. Everyone's going to get a chance to play that pretty soon. So that is the next to date, guys. That covers all the games that are about to be released commercially. That covers all the games that are in the works, in the pipeline. And obviously today you've seen some new ones in the form of arcade ports and the new mascot Crowley doing his rounds in a new game. So loads to look forward to there, guys. But anyway, I'm going to have to sign off because we've been on a little while now. And I hope you all enjoyed the video anyway. And drop any comments in. I'll try and answer them after the fact. I'll share this around the groups. And I'll be back in a video really soon. See you later.